Of the roller coaster.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much to Chef Adam Bateman and to the Pan Pacific for this afternoon's lovely dinner. Thank you very much. Before I hand over to Lisa, I'll just share a little story with you. I was reflecting this weekend, as you do. I think you all will get this, but you know, you end up bouncing from meeting to meeting to meeting all week long, and you get a chance to sit there at the weekend and just reflect a little bit on that and process those meetings. And what was going through my head was I had a meeting, a phone call actually, with Tom Phillips from Restaurant Story, chatting to him about a dish that he's doing for the Bocuse d'Or. Giving some guidance on that. I then spoke the next day to Harry Kirkpatrick, who's my head chef at Trinity, who's knees deep in Great British Menu filming this week. Probably under embargo, but there you go. So giving him some guidance on that. I had a great conversation with a girl called India Thompson, who is planning her visas and her application to get into the French laundry next year, which is super exciting. I had a conversation with a lovely demi-chef de partie at the Ritz called Lucy. Very inspiring about the course and where she's at the Ritz currently. I was on a Teams call on Friday with Aaron Potter, who's opened his first restaurant, Wildflowers, and was congratulating him on a great review from Grace Dent, which I think was brilliant. I talked to Ben Marks of Morcella, Perilla. I had a conversation with him about the Raqqa newsletter actually. And you know what all of those people have in common is that they are the future of our industry. More than that, they are actually the leaders of our industry. That was the other one. I also texted Spencer to say congrats and best of luck with your opening this week, row 5 with Jason. That was the other one. And not only are they the future of our industry, they are leaders, the future leaders of this industry. More important than any of that, each and every one of those names is a spec chef from Bournemouth because of Raqqa. And it was kind of, for me, the first time that I sat there and thought, actually, this is not just having an impact on the wider industry, it is changing the landscape of the wider industry. And it doesn't sound like a huge amount really to a degree, but I've always felt that the significance of that course should be felt much more in the wider industry. But for the first time this weekend I sat and went through all those names, all of which are and were at Bournemouth training as specialised chefs. And I really feel like that is now a huge presence in the industry. So I felt really proud about that, and I hope you do too. But, and there is a but, because there's 3 of those people that all own their own restaurants and are now in their own restaurants, which is an amazing thing. And I speak to all 3 of those people about leases, about ridiculous trunk changes, about budgets, about all sorts of crazy stuff, landlords. And I wouldn't have said this time last week, but I will say it now. It's now the hardest this industry has ever been. What happened last week with the budget, I don't want to make this all political. Doesn't really matter at this point, I don't think, which side of the table you sit on. But last week was a real shot to the heart for hospitality. It was a real difficult thing to swallow. And, you know, I'll put it in perspective for you. I don't mind sharing. I'm a very small business. I'm a grain of arboreal rice in a very big pot of risotto in the hospitality business. Trinity, it gets a lot of noise, but it is a very, very tiny restaurant in the grain of a huge hospitality space. But that budget last week is 165 grand off of my EBITDA. And that's just where we are. When you scale that up to what this industry is at now. More importantly, that 165 grand, we've been there 2 decades, we're a grown up business, we'll cope with it. But that 165 grand is the bit that we use to grow. It's the bit that we use to invest in young people. It's the bit we use to expand our economy. But more importantly, it's the bit that we use to make hospitality as good as it possibly can be, and make London and the UK one of the hotbeds for hospitality on the planet. But that bit's just been ripped out. And I just think, look, I don't have the answer here, but I do know that as an industry we can kind of sit there and just complain and woes me and whatever. But if you sit there and just continue to do the same thing, that business has been there for two decades. It's a really bloody good business. People love working there, people love eating there, it's got that lovely sweet spot. It isn't always like that, it hasn't always been like that, but it is currently like that. And it's in that lovely place. But I now can't sit there and continue to do the same thing with that wonderful business with all of these changes that have now come on board. We have to now change that model. And that's just shocking, I think. I don't have the answer, I really don't. If I did, I wouldn't be here. But I don't have the answer. But we either sit there and complain, or we're going to have to adapt. And so it's a difficult thing, and I think we're all going through that. But listen, the point of all of that really was that what I want for Raqqa, there are many things I want for it, and working with Lisa, she knows there's lots of lovely aspirations, but what I really want for Raqqa is that it isn't a place for people to come to when they've finished all their amazing career and they've sit there, and a place for them to sit and reminisce about all the great things and how hard it was and how good it was and how terrifying the kitchens were back in the day. What I want Raqqa to be now is a place where it supports these young people. That's what we need to be. We need to be a force for support for these young people that are starting out and will be the future of our industry. All right? That's it from me. Short, sweet, to the point. Thank you very much.
Introduce Adam and Andre, who's hiding around the corner here, because I know Adam's a bit nervous about talking to you all. So just going to say,
I'm not nervous until you say it. Actually. Well, I was going to touch on some points that Adam mentioned, and he's already done it now, so I won't go into that. What I will say is, you guys have all got busy lives and busy jobs and busy projects that are going on. So we, as an organisation and a team, appreciate the time that you've given to this, and most importantly, strangely and weirdly, my team do. So I've been here, 6-7 months, and we're in a massive transition from the old exec team that have gone, and chefs have gone and moved on, and we're starting to rebuild. And the team that we've got in there today have never ever cooked anything like this in their lives. They're specialists in some Southeast Asian cuisine and various different things. So to cook a lunch for their peers, excuse my French, but they were shitting themselves this morning. So they've taken the time out of their day to really produce something as best as they can. And it's important that you guys take that time to support the industry because they need it. They've gained so much experience from today, the challenge of trying to deliver this. They've gained that confidence. I'm sure they've picked up some abilities. I'm sure they're fed up of me shouting the screen at them in the past to try and get that duck out quicker today. But I've also sure they've really, really enjoyed it, which is the most important thing. So from us and the team here, I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you.
Right, I am going to do a little update on Adopt a School first, if that's okay. I'm just going to pull this door up. So Gemma, who has taken on the role as programme programme manager for Adopt a School, is supposed to work for 4 days a week. She's not working 4 days a week, she's working much more than that, but has asked me to do this for her today. So Gemma has taken on the role that was Helena Horton's role, who left us in August, and she's working, Gemma and I are working very closely together. What we're trying to do is restructure how Adopt a School is managed, and we believe the best way to do that is to break that role into parts. So Gemma's going to do the programme manager role, I'll do some of the kind of trustee financial stuff, and we've got a new programme coordinator coming on in 2 weeks' time by the name of Carolyn, and we're looking for a freelance funds and bids manager. But we're also going to look at our fundraising strategy, because that landscape, as we know very well, has changed quite significantly. So some development there on Adopt a School. So a new programme coordinator coming in 2 weeks. We've also got a new London regional chef, whose name is Amandeep Verding, another woman, which is great. She joined us in September, and she has a background as a nutritional therapist and a chef, and brings a great breadth of experience in cookery, teaching and nutritional workshops. The next Adopt a School training session, if anyone is interested, is actually on the 16th of January in central London, which is hosted at the CH&Co head office in London. Next year is the 35th anniversary of Adopt a School. So there is planning underway for a year-long programme of fundraising activities, engaging supporters, volunteers and schools. We're also planning a year-long programme of fundraising activities that you can all get involved in and help us with. We are also looking to do a fundraising dinner later in the year, and we're looking to make 2025 a big year for Adopt a School. Lots of little initiatives that hopefully all roll into one big thing. We have, as you leave, there's some flyers on the desk. A fundraising dinner at Westminster Kingsway in February, where we have Russell Bateman, Deepak Malia and Julie Sharp and Mark Tilling cooking, so it'll be a great evening. Some great cooks there, and Mark Whitley out front. And then on the 16th of May, we've got the Take Free Colleges fundraising dinner at the RAC, and I think we might have Michael Keynes on the list of chefs for that night, so that's one to look out for as well. In terms of the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts, I might just very quickly say that we've launched the Annual Awards of Excellence today, which is timely because we have Mr. Torrent here who's going to talk about the pastry side. So I might let you do that first, Will, and then I'll come back to more updates.
Great, thank you, Lisa. Good afternoon, everyone. So as Lisa's just mentioned, the Awards of Excellence launched this morning. You should have had an email in your inbox this morning. So it's time to start sharing and time to start getting those budding young chefs and restaurant service staff into those awards, and hopefully we get a really bumpy year as we go into what sounds like quite a celebratory year for the Academy in general. It's a real privilege and honour to stand here in front of you and present an update from the Awards of Excellence Pastry Committee as its new Vice Chairman, and on behalf of Alistair Burt, who's our new Chair. He can't be with us today as they're reopening the much anticipated Georgian restaurant in Harrods this week, which also looks rather spectacular. Before we talk about this year's awards and a bit of the shared vision that we have going forward, both Alistair and I wanted to take the opportunity to publicly thank Yolandi and Sarah, who stepped down after this year's awards, for their incredible years of judging, vision and enthusiasm to not just the pastry but the Annual Awards of Excellence in general. We're totally indebted to their service. We're very keen to continue learning from their invaluable knowledge as we seek to build on their successes as chairman. Both Alistair and I, along with the committee, are totally and utterly committed to maintaining the standard of excellence of the awards, but are keen to engage a wider section of the industry, and that's where we need your help, but we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. Just as an update, we virtually met a couple of weeks ago to go through what Alistair's vision for the awards are and wrote this year's semi-final and final tasks. We're all keen to make the tasks relevant to what is being produced in patisseries, hotels, restaurants and the like in this modern day, but making sure that they're firmly rooted in classical skills and techniques. I think we'd all agree that we want our young waiters, chefs and pastry chefs to flourish and showcase their skills, but we also want to make sure that they understand the basics, that they understand the classics and why they're so important to everything that we do. Our hope is that this year's tasks reflect that vision. Again, Julie, Mark and the team at the UK Chocolate Academy are going to host our Mentor Day again this year, and we're really thankful for them for putting themselves forward. It proved invaluable last year to our competitors. There was a real sense of camaraderie when it got to the final, and that was really lovely to see competitors helping each other out, because they'd already got to know each other, and it was a really lovely thing to see. Now, I mentioned that we need your support, and in the background, we've recently been working with the Academy's new PR agency, Eat PR, so we've been working with Andrew and Nancy to put together some resources for academicians, judges, associate members and supporters to share across their networks, and most importantly, the social media side of things. Including sample text to just copy and paste, so we're going to make it really, really easy for you to just share the word. As we collectively drive the awards forward into another year, we want everyone to have the ability to shout about why the Awards of Excellence are so important to our young hospitality stars. And just to add, we've not just been looking at this from a pastry perspective, we've been looking at this across all 3 disciplines in that in mind, and hopefully gather some even more momentum and more entrants for next year. So entries are now open. Selfishly, the pastry closes on the Monday the 6th of January. Our semi-final is on the 19th of Feb, and final on the 16th of April, so a little bit earlier than kitchen and restaurant service. Watch this space for incoming resources, and because it's being filmed, good luck to all of those who enter this year. Thank you very much.
Has put together a new service committee for 2025, and we're going to be introducing some new initiatives there, including a cheese masterclass in association with Harvey and Brocklis, who are one of our associate members. And John Hollywood, L&D Director at Conic Hotels, is going to give some inspirational talks, actually across all sectors, so across service, pastry and kitchen. So just to update you in terms of the Royal Academy of Culinary Arts, we've had a bit of a busy month with a bit of travelling. I've been up to Scotland a couple of times. We've been up to have a meeting with the Scottish chapter, which is chaired by Elaine Watson at Gleneagles. We had about 10 of us in the room and talked about some initiatives that we're going to do up in Scotland. I visited the Royal and Ancient at St Andrews and visited Stephen Toon, who I'm delighted to announce is going to be coming on as our new Friends Chair in the new year, so thank you, Stephen. Stephen's at the back there if there's any Friends members. We're looking at 2 new academician members from the Royal and Ancient. I also had a trip up to, it's a hard job, my job, it's terrible. Visit to Glenturret to meet Mark Donald, who's a 2 Michelin star chef up there. A trip to see Philip Skenazy, who's ex-Gleneagles, who now has his own place called the Curry Inn. A visit to see Ross Snedden and the new general manager at the Balmoral to discuss a plenary that we're holding in Edinburgh in May next year, so that's one for your diaries, date to be confirmed. And then on the final day of that trip, I met Roberta Hall from the Little Chart Room, who's going to hopefully come on board as an academician next year. And the final day was spent at the Hits Scotland Poets Lounge, so that was a big Scotland trip. Second Scotland to visit, Neil and I went up and visited Glasgow College, who are one of our first 5 colleges of our new college community programme. Now I'm going to try and remember all 5. They are Glasgow, Colchester, Cardiff and Vale, Sheffield and Brockenhurst. There you go. So they're our first 5 colleges that have signed up to the new college community programme. Neil's doing an amazing job managing all of their requirements. We've visited the first 5 together. Neil will now join in potentially in some of the demos, although not everywhere. But Brockenhurst came down the week before last. We did the Royal Lancaster and they went to Westminster Kingsway. We've got Sabrina Gidder going to do a demo at Sheffield and Rishikesh and possibly Lisa Goodwin-Allen. We've got Hal Jones going into Cardiff and Vale. Glasgow we haven't decided yet, I don't think. We've got a maple demonstration happening. Who have I missed? Colchester. Oh, Colchester are coming to the Dorchester, to the Ritz, to the Goring. They're bringing a load of students down, so we need lots of people to help us with our next 10, and then the year after that will be 20. So I'm already white, but watch his hair over the next 3 years.
It used to be very red. It's only taken 2 months.
It's hot in here, isn't it? Yeah. So that's the college community programme. It's going really well for the first for the first year. I mean, we've kind of gone in all guns blazing in the new academic year, but I mean, it's been enlightening for me. Neil knows the education landscape a bit better than I do, and I think it's been a real learning curve for us in terms of what's missing in some of these colleges out in the industry, what they need from us. And going back to what Adam and Adam have both said, it's all about us supporting as much as we can. So we're just slowly trying to get some of our associate members involved. But if anyone wants to get involved in helping us with that college community programme, we would gratefully accept your help. So please reach out to us. What else have I got to tell you? Turnberry is hosting our golf weekend next year. David Pitchford is going to manage our golf weekend. If any of you are golfers and you'd like a trip up to Turnberry, then please get in touch with David. We had an excellent management committee meeting prior to our annual general meeting, which we held at the Dorchester. It was amazing to see the people we had around the table at that meeting, all with a real purpose to support education. And we then had an excellent AGM where we had over 100 people. We gave out some investitures. Lisa Goodwin-Allen was made a fellow, and we dished out some overdue honorary memberships. They've all been shared on social media. A seat at the table, which is an initiative we launched at the beginning of the year, sponsored by the University of West London. We had our latest one at Jose Pizarro's at the Royal Academy of Arts, and that was amazing. We talked about social media, and some of those insights from that lunch have been shared. We're hoping to do an education roundtable next year, something that hopefully will give some added value to the academicians, to talk about managing young people, managing the newer generation, and while still maintaining those standards that you need in a successful operation, a successful hospitality business. We've done a Westminster Kingsway Student Day where Neil and Ollie staffed a desk and spoke to students all day. Ollie went along to Bournemouth and Poole on his own and did a welcome day. Adam and I have had a couple of meetings now with the senior team at Bournemouth and Poole, and I continue to have Northern Ireland meetings, albeit on Teams, with a separate programme we've got with the Worshipful Company of Cooks to do an educational programme in Northern Ireland. We've had a visit to UCB to see the new students there, and as I said, we've been round and seen these 5 new colleges as part of the college community programme. We've got some new members, none of whom are with us today unfortunately, but we've got a members event at the end of December where we've got about 30 people coming, I think. But some of our new members include Roger Pisey, who is the executive pastry chef at Fortnum and Mason, Stevie McLaughlin, head chef at restaurant Andrew Fairley, Ryan Murphy, the executive chef at Trump Turnberry, Enzo Wanakori, restaurant manager at the Ritz, Lewis Huntley, director of operations at Grantley Hall, Chris McClurg, who's the executive chef at Paul Wainsworth Collection, Andy Mackenzie, executive chef at Exclusive Hotels Chefs Academy, and Gary McLean, who's the culinary ambassador at City Glasgow College. We've also had Cartwheel Recruitment join a new associate member. We're now at 40 associate members, which is quite a considerable amount of associate members. So we're really pleased that we've brought in some new, and we're hoping to take True Foods on early in 2025. PR and website. Jonathan, thank you for joining us today. We have, as you will have seen, taken on a new PR company called Eat PR. There's 4 of them, Jonathan, Lauren, Nancy and Andy. They're doing an amazing job. Lots on social media, a lot on LinkedIn, lots of interaction. Our stats have gone whoop, which is great. And Adam and I did an interview for Chef and Restaurant magazine, which if anybody's interested, I can send you a link or we can get some hard copies. And they did a good job. And then finally, we've moved to a system called Go Cardless. So if any of you want to pay subscriptions on either a monthly or an annual basis, we've now got a system in place. I know there's been calls for this for a long time. So if any of you would rather pay on a monthly direct debit, we can now do that. And lastly, 2 new initiatives. We're launching a new programme at the end of the year called the Ramon Pajares Scholarship, which for those of you in service will know that Ramon Pajares was a rather legendary man who was heavily involved with the Savoy and also the Savoy Educational Trust. He was integral to setting up that trust many years ago. He sadly passed away in January, and we're delighted to be working in partnership with the Savoy Educational Trust to launch a Ramon Pajares Excellence Scholarship, which will only be available to young people who have achieved the annual Awards of Excellence, which ties it neatly together because the Savoy Educational Trust are already sponsors of the annual Awards of Excellence. So we're going to be managing that scholarship. We're going to be doing it for 10 years at least. They've committed to 10 years. And it's a prize pot of £5,000 for one individual. It's a huge prize. It's for personal and professional development to fill the gaps in their learning. And that will launch in January, and we will announce the winner at the Annual Awards of Excellence dinner. And finally, for those chefs in the room, some of you may have heard of a competition called the William Heptonstall Award. It's been going for a long, long time. It's only for chefs, and there's a bursary of £4,000 for that. And we're going to be managing the entry process for the William Heptonstall as well. So you'll be getting emails from me about the William Heptonstall Award. So individual, and that scholarship is to be spent on travel. So don't enter your chefs if you don't want them to bug off somewhere. But it's a big opportunity, and it means that we're managing a lot of that kind of the same entry criteria in the industry, which is great for us. We're acting as a hub for some of those other organisations. And that's really all I've got to say. And now I'm going to pass you over to Marcus and Chloe. I heard a big sigh there. Come on, Marcus and Chloe from Le Marché, they're going to come and talk to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So we're from Le Marché. My name is Chloe Rosen. This is my father.
So my name is Marcus. We're here to talk about the company. But if you follow me on social media, this will make sense.
Good morning, chef.
Morning. If you follow us on social media, this will make sense. If you don't, it won't.
Good morning,
Morning,
chef.
chefs. Some people know, some people don't. Some people are leaving.
It was my speech, I'm sure.
So we'll start with the history of the company. So for those of you who don't know us, we're a fresh fruit and vegetable distribution company. We actually started in 1770. So we're the oldest catering company going in London. And then it all started to be up with a gentleman named Joseph Harrison selling watercress on a horse and cart. Skip forward to 1826.
So 1826 is a very big day for the company. That's the first day in the old Covent Garden market where we started paying rent. So we've been paying rent since 1826 till today. So nearly 200 years, which I'm very, very proud of.
Yeah, and then if you go to the early 1980s, you joined the company as a young boy.
Yeah, so in the early 80s I went to work for my neighbour in school holidays and things like that, and his company was the one that I took over. His name was John Bunny, and it was him and one porter. So when I joined the company it became 3. So the market in those days, there was nearly 100 shops within Covent Garden then, so it was a crazy place. There was 4 different types of porters. There was a night porter, day porter, a cart minder. There was so many different. There were 2 banks in the market. There was 2 pubs in the market. So if you go back to the early 80s, you couldn't get a drink in London anywhere, but unless you went to Covent Garden during the night, so you could drink there. So it was a really crazy place, and even when I went there, you had to learn to count again, because the Cockney rhyming slang there, if I counted to 7, it was a knicker, a bottle, a carpet, a roaf, which is 4 spelled backwards, a ching, a tom mix was 6, 7 was Nevis. So it was a crazy world that we had to learn it all again. But
fortunately, we don't have to learn that anymore. And so you've obviously been in the business for your whole life, so
yeah,
40+ years.
So I've worked for the same company that I took over for 40 years.
So you're a bit of an expert in fresh fruit and vegetables.
Still learning on that, yeah, practicing.
So I first made an appearance on the market in 2007. I was only about 10 years old. I'd come up in my school holidays and help my dad with the buying. He'd pay me about £20 a night, which was pretty good going at the time.
She's a little bit more expensive now.
And then skip forward another 10 years, I officially joined Le Marché full time. I just started at the bottom, processing orders, taking calls. I've slowly worked my way up, and now I deal with all the financial side of the business and making sure everything's in check.
So just prior to Chloe joining, I decided to think about what the business needed to be and how to push the business forward. And I thought what was missing in the trade, everybody just keeps saying yes, and I thought I needed to say no. So I thought I'd cap the amount of customers that we could serve at 100 customers. I called it the 100 Club. So the idea was to go out and find the very finest orders that I could, the very finest Michelin stars, the very finest hotels, the finest gentlemen's clubs, and just only supply the very best and just do 100 orders. The idea behind that, I thought that is what I could give the service to. In fact, you can't give that special service to 100. It's a little bit more than you can actually do. But I'm running out of words now.
But yeah, the 100 Club. So we really pride ourselves on quality and service rather than being a race to the bottom. We've sort of taken a different route, and we're striving for best quality service. So
we're limiting, so it's all about service and quality and limiting the amount of orders. And I called it the 100 Club. In effect, the FTSE 100 of the restaurant and hotel world, which is what I was aiming to collect. But when I called it a club, I didn't know what the club was going to be. And the club turned out to be, we're the only British company to have a premise in the Runges market in Paris. So I started throwing chefs in the back of the car, driving them out, taking them around the market. So I'd take one from a gentleman's club, one from a hotel. By the time I brought them back 24 hours, completely knackered, they would be exchanging cards, talking to each other, come and meet at my restaurant. So that was the start of the club. And jumping forward now, if you follow us on social media, you will see that one of the things I do, we get chefs into the market. I put a stack of pallets at the back while all the drivers are loading the vans, and we invite chefs in to cook. So I get a little colour gas cooker, and we get chefs in to cook. A couple of weeks ago we had two Michelin star chefs cooking for the drivers.
Yeah, we had Wagyu, A5 beef, white truffle, so our drivers honestly eat better than anyone else.
Our drivers need to pay us to come to work, so we get amazing chefs to come in and cook, which is lots and lots of fun. And also,
another element of sort of the Club of Le Marché is, prior to knowing that the Academy was doing a doctor's school, we were doing a similar thing with a school in Camden. So it's run by a gentleman called Tom Moggy, and it's sort of 8 to 10-year-olds, and we'll bring chefs, our customers, to come and cook with the children.
So we brought Claridge's, which is a customer, so we all of the front of the
Dimitri Maggi, yeah.
Dimitri Maggi came, brought all of his chefs in, and we cooked with the kids, which was amazing. If you get little 8-year-old kids cooking with legendary chefs.
We've had Loic from the Café Royal.
He's out of the Connaught now, fantastic pastry chef. That was brilliant. The kids loved that. It was very sweet.
A sushi master. We also actually had the head chef of Trinity, Chris, at the time, come and cook a gorgeous tuna starter for the kids.
You may know Trinity. It's quite a good place. It's worth visiting.
But that's where the synergy really comes into place between us and the Academy. We're at a point now where we want to give back, and we're able to. So it's fantastic to be involved with such a...
But that Trinity chef, Chris, came in and he bought some tuna, and we provided the fruit and veg. But for these young kids, he cooked this amazing starter, a 1-star Michelin starter, which they all tried to create and copy. And then we all ate it. It's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant fun. It was really good, really good.
And yeah, just want to say thank you so much for having us. It's been a real privilege to talk in front of you.
It is, and one of the reasons we were asked to talk about, because Chloe is my daughter, and I just wanted to say, having somebody from your family working within the business is quite difficult, because she's had to work twice as hard as everybody else. She's had to do it for longer. It's difficult to put into words, but I'm just so proud of her, and it is very difficult to work with family and bring them on, because like I say, she has to be better than everybody else twice. I'm very, very proud of her.
We do normally open this up to Q&A if there's any questions, if anyone's got any questions. Otherwise, we'll let you all head off or carry on.
I just want to say, on the back of what Adam was saying, we are a force, and I think there's a lot of opportunity at these plenaries to do a lot more in the way of not trying to fix things, but just talking to each other more about what you raised. I'm not in business, I've just launched my own food education business, but bit on a slightly different level to a lot of you guys. But we can do so much, we really can. And I know you're working behind the scenes on stuff that we'll hear about. But it is, you know, it's a meeting and we talk around these sort of one end of the table. There's so much knowledge and experience here to help switch things around and maybe make a difference. So I don't know what it looks like, but you know, individually we've got our own missions and our own passions for different parts of this industry. But from what you're saying, this is the critical time to now work together more as academicians than ever before because of the urgency.
I mean, I think the key event that we're planning next year will be around this education summit. Greg. You know, we're looking at just having a panel of speakers and getting a bunch of academicians in the room to give you that forum to speak to each other and share some.
Well, it's for us to do it.
Ideas.
You know, it's not for you to host it, but it's for us to do it more. But to use this time every 2 months to get together, really.
Sure. I mean, we can always extend start it. I mean, let me know any ideas, and we'll certainly put them forward.